Good day, everybody. Welcome to the Bible in a Year, 2021. We are on day 246, and we are reading through Ezekiel 23 and 24. Next couple of days aren't going to be very long at all. It's pretty straightforward prophecies that are being given here. It's interesting in this one, in Ezekiel 23, because a story is told. We could call it a parable, an allegory, however you want to put it. But Israel and Judah are, well, if you want to call Samaria, that's how the Lord refers to the northern kingdom as Samaria. So if you want to consider Samaria and Judah as sisters, and that's what the story is telling. And it talks about the promiscuity of Samaria with the Assyrians. And so in verse 9 and 10, we read, "Therefore I handed her over to her lovers, to the Assyrians, for whom she lusted. They stripped her naked, took her sons and daughters, and killed her with the sword. And she became notorious among women for the punishments they enacted against her." And so often we're seeing relationships described in the prophets of what it was supposed to be, where the Lord had married Israel, the one nation. They had become two kingdoms, but the one nation, and their unfaithfulness, and that's he comes across so much that way because it was supposed to be such an intimate relationship between the Lord and the nation he had chosen to represent him. And so this is how we're seeing it depicted in a lot of the prophecies. And then in verse 11, he describes Judah not wanting to be outdone by her sister. So Oholibah is how he refers to her in the story. Her sister Oholibah saw it, and she proceeded to outdo her sister in her lust and in her seductions. And what's crazy is that the younger sister was supposed to have seen and learned from the older sister, but instead followed in her footsteps and did even worse. And so there are consequences, always in our unfaithfulness to the Lord. It never ends well. In verse 22 to 23, so Oholiabah, the Lord God proclaims, "I'm now inciting your lovers against you, all those from whom you recoiled, and I will bring them against you from all around, Babylonians and all the Chaldeans, Pekod and Shoah and Koah, all the Assyrians with them, the most handsome young men, all of them governors and officers, career officers and conscripts, all of them on horseback." And it refers to the violence that they will do to her. In verse 30 to 31, we see a reference, really, it's the passing on of the cup of the consequences. It's kind of, you drink from the same cup type of idea. You made your bed, now lie in it type of idea. This will be done to you because you sold yourself to the nations and became defiled by their idols. You followed in your sister's path, so I have put her cup into your hand. And you remember, this was still a phrase that was used a long time later with Jesus, when he asked the disciples whether they could drink the same cup he was drinking from. And then he turned around and he said they would, but it was still not up to him who would sit on his right and who would sit on his left in the kingdom, because that was the Father who would decide that. So it is an interesting reference here, that that cup. So I have put her cup in your hands. So you will have to experience the same things. And then in chapter 24, verses 9 to 12, we have we have this image now given to us, and it is about the purification. And the whole idea was Judah was going to go through everything that she was about to go through in order to be purified, in order to return to the Lord. to see what life is like without him, to see the consequences, to see how their strength was him. And if he withdrew his hand from them, then they were vulnerable to everybody around them, so that they could understand that, but also so that they could see how unfair they had been in the relationship, how unfaithful they had been, the pain that they had caused him. And but this is what we read in verses 9 to 12. Horror, you bloody city, I myself will add fuel to the fire, pile on the wood, light the fire and cook the meat, season it well and let the bones be charred. Let the pot stand empty on its coals until it's so hot that its copper glows, its impurities melt in it, and its corrosion is consumed. It's a worthless task. Even by fire, its great corrosion isn't removed. So he's saying that there's going to have to be more things to come, even while they are in exile. And then we see poor Ezekiel. We see the price that is involved with being Yahweh's prophet. There is a cost. They belong completely to him. Everything they have belongs to him, and they are a tool for him. And he will use them in the way that he sees fit. And so we read this in verses 15 to 17. The Lord's word came to me, human one, I am about to take the delight of your eyes away from you in a single stroke. The delight of his eyes was his wife, who he was very much in love with. Don't mourn or weep. Don't even let your tears well up. Sigh inwardly. Be deathly still. Don't perform mourning rites, but bind on your turban and put your clothes on your feet. And don't cover your upper lip or eat in human company. So, in other words, he is forbidden, to practice all the normal traditions of mourning when suddenly you lose your wife, and we find out that the Lord is using this as an example to Judah, to explain to them what it's going to be like. This is what they're going to experience as they lose the city of Jerusalem. Say to the house of Israel, the Lord God proclaims, I'm about to make my sanctuary impure, the pride of your strength, the sanctuary, the temple, the pride of your strength, the delight of your eyes. Your heart's desire, the sons and daughters you left behind, will fall by the sword. You will do as I have done. You will neither cover your upper lip nor eat in human company. Your turbans will be on your heads, your sandals on your feet. You won't mourn or weep. You will waste away in your guilt, all of you, groaning to each other. Ezekiel is your sign. You will do everything that he has done. When this happens, you will know that I am the Lord. So their loss is going to be so tremendous that they're not going to have time or the emotional strength even to go through the whole mourning process, because everything will be lost. They will be in chains and they will be let off. And in any other situation, they would sit probably in sackcloth and ashes and mourn for a period of time, but that opportunity will not be given to them. And here, all this time, maybe we haven't emphasized it enough. Ezekiel is silent because the Lord told him that he was sealing up his mouth and he would only speak the words that he had him speak. So this is why there's been these dramatic performance prophecies that have been going on, because he's had to prophesy through his actions and not his words. But look what we read here, verses 25 to 27. And you, human one, on the day that I take from them their proud stronghold, their crowning joy, the delight of their eyes, and their sons and daughters whose fate weighs on them, on that day, a refugee will come to you so that you yourself will hear the news. On that day, your mouth will be open to the refugee, and you will speak and no longer be silent. You will be their sign, and they will know that I am the Lord. All the way through this, I haven't highlighted it every time, but all the way through this, we find that the things that are happening, the Lord concludes with, and they will know that I am the Lord. So there you go. You guys have a fantastic day. I pray that there's lots of stuff here for you to consume from this today and to meditate on. And we will meet up again tomorrow. Thanks for being with me with this, and God bless.